I don't know if we've dropped the link already. Unfortunately, since I'm presenting, I can't see the chat, but we're going to be putting a link to the website, which includes the application, in the chat for you to be able to pull up and follow along if you're on a computer as we go through this presentation today. The last bit of housekeeping is we encourage your questions throughout the presentation. Feel free to drop them directly into the chat, and we have folks here who are going to help answer them in real time. And then at the end, we'll also be able to open up for questions from everybody as well. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. So here's our objectives for today. One is just to give you all an introduction to what the FAFSA Challenge is and why we're doing it. Share some of what we learned and what the great work that the schools that participated last year were able to accomplish. And then, of course, provide more insights on what we are planning for this year and go over what the application will look like for schools that are interested in gathering some more resources. So just as a little bit of overview, I'm sure we all know or we've heard of the FAFSA before, but just want to establish why it's an important college benchmark for the state of Connecticut and for this administration. This FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is administered by the U.S. Department of Education. And a student who applies has the ability to access a significant amount of resources in order to pursue a post-secondary program. Here in Connecticut, students can unlock about $20,000 in Pell Grants and Stafford loans and other types of financial aid to be able to pursue college after high school graduation. And this Friday, as I'm sure you all know, is October 1, and it's it will be the release date of the 2022-2023 FAFSA. So this, I guess we can say, is FAFSA week this week. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight that some of you know, especially the district staff on this call, is that last spring, the state legislature passed a new law that requires districts to adopt a policy or a plan to improve FAFSA completion rates in their districts by next July. So that's July of 2022. And so we hope that this challenge can help districts think creatively about how to use the resources that will be provided through this challenge in order to comply with that law. So why are we paying so much attention to this year? Well, we know that financial aid barriers preclude many students from being able to pursue a post-secondary graduation. But it's something that's important to this administration for us to be able to break down those barriers. In fact, according to the National College Attainment Network, FAFSA completion is highly correlated with being able to enroll in a post-secondary program up to 84%. So we believe that by encouraging and helping students to complete the FAFSA, that we can also help them take the next step of being able to enroll in college if that's part of their trajectory. And we know also that last year and continuing to this day that the COVID-19 pandemic did have an impact on college enrollment and also widened opportunity gaps for students of color and low-income students as well. We know that when we kicked off this challenge last January, that FAFSA completion rates were down by about 16%. And so given this alarming trend, the then Commissioner Cardona and, of course, Governor Lamont created a new statewide program called the FAFSA Challenge to address this decline and to begin to turn around our FAFSA completion rates. So what is the FAFSA Challenge? There might be some new schools on this call today that didn't participate last year. It's essentially a statewide competition designed to spark creative and innovative strategies in high schools to boost FAFSA completion rates and post-secondary outcomes as well. And so all high schools in Connecticut are encouraged to participate and to raise their FAFSA completion rates by at least 5 percentage points. However, a subset of those schools will be eligible for additional resources to help their senior class to be able to accomplish this goal. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Real quickly, there are 3 goals for this program. First and foremost, we want to be able to improve student outcomes by helping all students pursue their goals for college and career and life success. Second, we want to address and close opportunity gaps. And that, of course, means focusing on access for historically marginalized students. And then third, we want to spark innovation and creativity and support you, school communities, and your partners in being able to try out and pursue new ideas to promote FAFSA completion. Just a little bit of context on what the schools that participated in the challenge last year were able to do. Last year there were 26 high schools from 16 school districts that participated. And through their participation, they were collectively able to raise FAFSA completion rates by about 4 percentage points. And of the 26 schools that participated, about 42% of them actually met the governor and the commissioner's goal of raising their FAFSA completion rates by 5 points. So we're super proud of them, especially in light of what we saw going on nationally and statewide. Nationally, FAFSA completion rates actually dropped by about 4.5%. And then statewide, we essentially flatlined at about 55% completion rate. So to see this increase among this cohort of schools in terms of FAFSA completion rates, while the state flatlined and the nation as a whole declined, was certainly a bright spot, but also a marker, I think, of how useful it can be for schools to be able to participate in a challenge like this. So what are we aiming for this year? Well, as I mentioned, as of June 2021, Connecticut's FAFSA completion rate hovered at about 55 percentage points, or 55%. And so this year, we are hoping to increase that statewide completion rate by about 5 points, bringing it up to 60%. We're also hoping to, more than double the number of schools that participate in the challenge that meet that 5 percentage point goal. So in this case, 90% of challenge schools will be able to take where their current FAFSA completion rate is and increase it by 5 points. And then lastly, and an equally important goal is for us to be able to have more collaboration and partnership between our K-12 system, our high schools, as well as our higher institutions of higher education and CBOs that do a lot of this work, have expertise and capacity, and are eager to support the K-12 system in meeting this challenge. We'll go over this sort of 2 tiers of support and kind of explain why a school like yours might be interested in participating in the FAFSA challenge. So this year, the State Department of Education has again allocated resources to support school teams who are committed to improving FAFSA completion. These resources will be available to the 53 schools that were identified by the State Department based on their previous year's FAFSA completion rates, their free reduced lunch population, and their senior class size. And last week, the State Department sent a letter to all of the superintendents and principals of those schools. If you're curious whether your school is on that list, you can definitely put it in the chat or check out the CSDE website. That's in that chat as well, and we have a full list of all the schools that are eligible. But essentially, there are 2 different levels of support that a school can apply for. The first tier is what we're calling our basic level of support. And this is for schools that would like to have additional financial support, just like we did last year, to implement strategies in their school, but may not have the time or desire for anything beyond that. And so they can apply for those additional resources, and they will also get access, aggregate and student level access to EdSite. And Dave from the department is going to go over in a second sort of what that entails. The second level of support is more intensive, which is tier 2, and this will provide a broader set of resources, including a larger microgrant, professional development for school staff, as well as an opportunity and space to learn from other schools and experts on strategies for increasing FAFSA. Last year, we partnered with the Connecticut RISE Network to help design and facilitate the FAFSA Challenge. As many of you may know, the RISE Network is a Connecticut-based nonprofit, and they partner with schools and districts around the state to help all students stay on track during high school and graduate from high school with a plan for post-secondary success. And so this year, we're excited to be able to work with them again, and they're going to be helping to lead this sort of tier 2 intensive support for schools that opt to participate in this. And so to give you a bit more sense of what that looks like, I'm going to hand it over to Emily Palin, who is the Executive Director of RISE, just to explain more about the resources and expectations that a school could receive by participating in this tier 2 support category.
Terrific. Thanks so much, John. And as John shared in his framing just a moment ago, we definitely have ambitious, but we think really achievable goals for this coming year, in large part thanks to the passion and talent that all of you bring to this work. We're aiming to improve those statewide FAFSA completion rates from 55% to 60% this year. And we feel really confident that we can hit that thanks to all of the great work that you do, because of the work that the high schools achieved last year and the exciting gains they saw through their participation in the FAFSA Challenge. That all being said, we fully recognize that this is very hard and complicated work, and we want you to know that we are here to provide support and really partner with you throughout this process. So schools that do choose that tier 2 model, and we sincerely hope that all of you will consider that in their application, are committing to participating in that monthly community of practice between November and May for this school year. And in turn, these schools will then receive those larger micro grants to support all of the new ideas that I'm sure are already swirling in your minds right now to promote FAFSA completion within your school communities. You'll also have the opportunity to really learn from and with other schools who are participating in the challenge. And last year, we heard this was one of the most valuable parts of the challenge experience, really having that ability to connect with and share resources with other colleagues engaged in the exact same work across the state. You'll also have access to trainings that will be provided by FAFSA experts from organizations like You Aspire and Connecticut Students for a Dream. And you'll also have the opportunity to take advantage of individualized planning and coaching sessions with terrific members of the RISE team. We'll also support you in using the terrific EdSite data designed to help all of our students and families complete the FAFSA. So we really hope that you'll consider this opportunity for greater support and collaboration through the tier 2 option. Again, you would just indicate that in your application process. We really did hear that last year schools found that community of practice to be beneficial as we were working together to share promising practices, work through those common pain points and problems of practice that inevitably come up in this important work. So we're really excited about this opportunity to partner with and learn from all of you, and are really confident that by working together, we know that we can meet and exceed that ambitious goal that John shared on an earlier slide. So at this point, we have referenced the EdSite FAFSA data portal a few times now, and it is another great tool that's designed to support FAFSA completion efforts, not just in challenge high schools, but really statewide. So at this point, I am really excited to turn things over to Dave Alexandra from the State Department's Performance Office to share a bit more about the EdSite FAFSA data tools.
Great, thanks so much, Emily. Yeah, as Emily mentioned, there's a wealth of data available in EdSite. So before I kind of get into the reports that are available related to FAFSA completion, I just wanted to make sure that we had kind of an idea of what's available in EdSite, and specifically the 2 different portals. So I've just kind of created a simple table here just to kind of give you a refresher that the EdSite public portal, just simply usually called EdSite, that's for all users. So the public can access that. The URL is provided at the bottom of this slide. And generally, we're presenting aggregate data in EdSite public. We do suppress small n sizes to make sure that we are maintaining student anonymity. And we have a number of interactive reports, mostly tables. You can filter, you can disaggregate, and you could also export the data. And Ajit and our whole group, we're very excited that we're actually expanding our EdSite public portal, and we will, in the months ahead, be looking to add many additional visualizations and a lot more filtering options to make kind of the user experience a lot more kind of fulfilling and allow you to kind of visualize the data in new and exciting ways. And then on the secure side, that's for designated school and district staff. And so whereas we have suppressed data in the public view, for the authorized school and district users, you can access student level data, and that data does not have any suppression. So here we have a lot more in the way of interactive reports, visualizations, and again, you could filter, disaggregate, and export. And I also provided a link to the secure site here as well. You can go to the next slide, John. So for those that don't have access currently to EdSite Secure, and if you're a district or school user, I just wanted to kind of go through quickly what the process is. So those district and school users are designated by the school superintendent, the district superintendent. So if you are someone who works in the district and feel as though you should have access to this student level data, you would ask the superintendent for EdSite Secure permission, and then that would then trigger a notice to your district's security manager. That person creates an account or assigns the role so you'll be able to access the secure data. And then once we have that okay, we just basically kick off the process, and it's a very quick process to allow you to access EdSite Secure. If you're unsure who your LEA security manager is, I have a link at the bottom of that slide that will take you to EdSite, and you can look up who your LEA security manager is. So now that we kind of have an idea of what EdSite Secure and EdSite Public, what those two portals look like, I wanted to kind of show you what's available with respect to FAFSA. So here's the homepage for the public EdSite, and you can see right in the middle of the homepage there is a link to the FAFSA data dashboard. I also, in the subsequent slides, have the direct URL if you just want to go there as well, but this is kind of what you'll see on the homepage. So John, you can go to the next slide here. So once you access that dashboard, what you'll see is kind of just an overview page, but as you work your way down, so at the top here, it just kind of provides a link to the federal site as well. But the first two bullet points there allow you to access the last 2 years of school and district FAFSA data. So you can kind of look at what the completion rates were in the 1920 school year and the 2021 school year. Right below that, you see there's a bar chart there, and depending on whether you're viewing it on a mobile device or on your laptop, the screenshot that I took here was on my laptop, so you can see it had about 20 data points that allowed you to see the trend as we worked through the 2021 school year. As John mentioned, by the end of the school year, we were right around 55% as a statewide completion rate. When you look in December, we were about half of that. So we did ramp up quite a bit after the challenge was initiated. So as John said, a lot of positives seem to have come out of the challenge last year. And Emily, definitely detailed, the excitement and really the possibilities for this year as well. So in the next slide, it's just kind of what you would see as you scroll down this dashboard. And the first thing you'll see is a top 20. So what this is, it's the 20 schools that have the highest FAFSA completion rate. And this is actually a dynamic chart because the filters on the right will drive which schools appear on the left. So the default is all schools are included statewide, and you can decide I only want to see schools from a certain district, or I only want to see the FAFSA challenge schools. All of those filter options are available on the right. So you could filter and disaggregate, just as I mentioned you can do throughout EdSite Secure and EdSite Public. So I encourage you to kind of plug and play and just take a look at this report, and it really does provide a wealth of information. And there's also additional information as you hover over each of these bars that will provide information as to the school size and other information like that. And then below this chart, on the next slide, you'll see that we have the data that go along with that bar chart. So if you wanted to know the additional information for the schools that were represented in the chart above, all of that is here. In this particular screenshot, you can see that the schools towards the bottom, they have a blue circle with a plus sign. So what I've done for that first school there, the Achievement First Bridgeport Academy, I've clicked that plus symbol just to kind of break that out and show you the additional information that you would see. So as I mentioned, this is a different view, whether you're on a mobile device or on a laptop, but the same information is available no matter what device you're using. But you can see here that you can view whether they're an Alliance District school, whether they're part of the challenge. And also, you can see right at the top, there's an export option. So you can bring this out to Excel or whatever spreadsheet software you prefer, and you can do additional analysis or just keep track of the data. So please, I really encourage you to if you're not a secure user and you work at the district or school level and you need access to student level data, that really helps you get to that level. And then if you're not a school or district user who would have secure access, you can see here, even this public dashboard provides a wealth of information. So now that we know what the public side looks like, I wanted to kind of also provide a look at EdSite Secure. So this is what the homepage for EdSite Secure looks like. And the leftmost section of the home or the welcome page, as we call it in EdSite Secure, has all of the student level reports. So you can see towards the bottom there, we have the FAFSA completion report, a link to it. So in the next slide, you can see that this has a very different look than what we see in the public report, because as I mentioned, now we're looking at student level data. Now, I know you're probably seeing a very small version, so you don't have to kind of squint and try to make out everything that's in this report, but I kind of wanted to give us all a bird's eye view. As I mentioned, it provides authorized users to secure access to the completion status for current 12th grade students. So each row that you see on this little screenshot here represents one student. I've put a little box in the fifth column over. That'll show whether or not the student has completed their FAFSA, whether it hasn't been submitted, or if it's in a current state of incomplete. It also provides if you're a district user, you'll see multiple schools listed. If you're just a school level user, you'll only see students from your school. And we added a feature last year, and this came from user feedback. Sometimes the report was conflicting with information that students had given you, perhaps as a guidance counselor or somebody that was working with the students. And so now we've added this, the process and submission date, so that you can verify with the student the information that we're getting from the feds. And so the OHE, the Office of Higher Education, has a data sharing agreement where they provide these fields to us. We do not receive any information with respect to the estimated family contribution or anything at that level, but we're simply receiving the student information as it pertains to their FAFSA completion status. But even with these limited fields, we are able to, Emily really, kind of referenced this idea of the important resources. And we have a number of kind of human resources that we can tap on. And this data resource here is really important to allow us to really kind of dive into the data and reach out to students or just confirm with students, not necessarily reach out, but if they're concerned that that they're receiving different information, we can confirm here what information is officially being sent to Connecticut. So I encourage you, you can see there are search fields. You can search by the student's SACID, which is their ID. Also, you can search by last name. You can filter as well. And also, I've highlighted the additional option if you wanted to export this data. Again, this is confidential data that only secure users can access. So this any export that's done should not be saved to a personal machine or shared via email or anything like that. And then with all of the EdSite Secure reports, after the data tab or any of the other tabs we have, we also have a resources tab, and that provides links perhaps to some sites that you haven't seen before. We have a link obviously to the federal site as well. And then also on the right-hand side, we have some links to the how-to documents related to this report and just EdSite Secure in general. So again, I encourage you to really take advantage of these resources, both on the public and secure EdSite portals, and reach out, please, to me if you see anything in these reports that either you're not seeing your school or you're wondering how to use the report or anything I can help with, please reach out, and I'm happy to collaborate and help in any way I can. So I think at this point, I'm going to send it back to John. And again, thanks everybody, and I look forward to working with you again this year.
Thanks, Dave. That was very helpful. And as Dave mentioned, if you're a school level counselor or a school level staff person interested in getting access to that individual level data in EdSite Secure, there is a link in this presentation that we will share after this meeting to your district representative who can provide you access to that data. I just wanted to go over a couple of last things before we finish up, including timeline and what the application looks like. As you can see here, the timeline is on this slide, where with the prospective applicant webinar, obviously today, September 29th, the application itself will close on October 18th, and then within an 11-day period, we will announce the schools that are participating, of course, with the level of support that they'll be receiving based on what they put in their application. The other event that I wanted to highlight for schools now and their partners is that on November 2nd, we will be having a first kickoff event for all schools in the challenge. That will be led by the RISE network, and we'll be sending out an invitation for that as soon as we announce the schools that are participating. But that will likely be sometime during, if not in the morning, then shortly right after the school day ends. And then this FAFSA challenge will run until June of 2022, and just like we did last week, we'll announce the winners sometime next September. In terms of what the application looks like, we know that this is a super busy time of year for school staff, and so we've intentionally created a brief and streamlined application. I want to just emphasize and note that applications should be submitted at the school level. Last year, I know we had districts submit applications on behalf of their schools, but this year, if a district has 2 eligible high schools that are eligible to participate and both want to participate, then each school should submit its own application separately. Of course, district staff and outside partners like colleges and CBOs are more than welcome to work with the high school in putting together that application. But we do have a very, very strong preference for the school to submit the application itself. I won't go through all the questions here, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of them for you. Question 2 just asks, what is your school's initial thinking for how it's going to use some of those resources to increase FAFSA student completion rates? And we do provide a promising practices brief also on that State Department website that highlights what the winners from the last year's FAFSA challenge did to increase their FAFSA completion rates. For example, Platt High School in Meriden increased their FAFSA completion rates by about 25 percentage points. And one of the strategies that they developed was creating a task force of teachers and counselors and administrators who received training on FAFSA completion and then broke off their senior class into small groups and targeted those seniors to make sure that they had the support they needed to complete it. The other school that did very well another school that did very well last year was Synergy Alternative Program in East High School. They worked with a buddy with Manchester Community College that visited the school regularly. Synergy also used some of the microgrant funding as incentives for students who completed the FAFSA, like gift certificates, T-shirts, things like that, as well as putting on steak dinners and other exciting events for students who completed the FAFSA to be able to attend. And so they grew by about 43 percentage points and earned the Governor's Award for Outstanding Improvement. The other question that we wanted to highlight is question 4, which asks about collaboration. And so if you haven't noticed already, we provided on the CSDE website a buddy list of about 20 different colleges and CBOs that are willing and eager to partner with your school if you don't have a partner already in helping for the duration of the FAFSA challenge to get your senior class to complete the FAFSA. And so there are contact names and contact emails, as well as the communities that those institutions have a preference for serving. Those partnerships, the design of those partnerships are totally up to you and the partner. They can be all virtual, they can be completely in person. We are agnostic on how they look like, but we did want to provide these additional partners as a resource for schools that feel like they could use some outside help with their students. And then the last question that I'll highlight here is just this 5th one. This is a question only for schools that are applying for that second tier. So if you're only interested in Tier 1, you will just need to answer questions 1 through 4. For Tier 2 applicants, there's this additional question that asks why you're interested in this level of support and the names of the school staff who will participate in those monthly community or practice sessions.
John, there's a question in the chat about, can colleges partner with more than one high school?
Definitely, yes. If multiple high schools reach out to the same college in a single community, and a college is willing to partner with more than one high school, that's totally acceptable. Just like vice versa, if a college wants to reach out to multiple high schools in their community to help them with the FAFSA challenge, that's also definitely allowable as well. Okay, so in terms of awards, you might have seen last Friday that we awarded the winners of the first FAFSA challenge at an event with Governor Lamont and Commissioner Russell Tucker in West Haven. This year, the award structure is going to look a little different from what we announced last year. We will still have a Governor's Award and a Commissioner's Award. The Governor's Award will be awarded to the challenge school that shows the greatest growth over the 2021 FAFSA completion rates. And the Commissioner's Award will be awarded to the school that has the highest completion rate at the end of the school year. For both the Governor's Award and the Commissioner's Award, you'll notice that we're awarding it to 3 different schools based on their senior class size. So a small school, a medium school, and a large school. So in total, there'll be 6 awards at the end of next year, and each of those schools will be eligible for a $5,000 cash prize that they then can use during the 2022-2023 school year to continue some of those strategies that worked well for FAFSA completion. There's also going to be just a monthly recognition, so probably starting in November, we'll publicly recognize the FAFSA challenge school that had the highest growth month to month, just to build some momentum for the challenge. And then if you're not a challenge school, we will also be recognizing you at the end of the year. There just won't be a cash prize attached to that. And so In a minute, we're going to wrap up the formal presentation, and as I mentioned, open things up for your questions. Before doing that, I just wanted to highlight some key next steps. First, please access the application link and other resources, which will include a recording of this webinar on the State Department's website. Monday, October 18th is the deadline for the application. And November 2nd at 2:30 p.m. is when we'll have the virtual kickoff for all FAFSA Challenge participants. If you have any questions between now and the 18th or at any point during the school year on the FAFSA Challenge, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've put my long email on the slide here for you to check out. And would be more than happy to talk by phone or connect via email. And so I think with that, that ends our presentation today. Happy to go through any questions that folks on the call might have, though.
You can either put the questions in the chat or use the raise hand feature. Either approach is fine.
David, one of the questions that came initially was how often will EdSite be updated? Ajit did graciously answer weekly. Two questions that come from that. Do you know when that will start? And then also, when should people check for updates? Is that like a Friday or a Monday? What's the safest?
Yeah, thanks. So generally, we receive the updated file from OHE on Monday. So if Monday is a holiday, they'll send that on a Tuesday, and then we'll run all the processing on our end in CSDE so that it usually will hit the secure and the public portals the next day. So generally Tuesdays, and then if Monday was a holiday, then it'll show on Wednesdays. There is usually a lag between when OHE grabs the data and when we see. So what I mean by that is, even though they're sending us a file on Monday, oftentimes that only has completions through Thursday or Friday of the previous week. And that's one of the reasons why we're putting the submission date and the completion date in the secure report, just so that you'll know. And for every school that you're accessing on the secure side, in the slide, I had a screenshot of it, but you'll look in the top of the EdSite secure report. You'll see that the most recent submission date school-wide will be shown there. So if at any point you're wondering, am I looking at an old version of the report or does it incorporate this week's data, you can always kind of look at that, the newest submission date, and that will let you know whether or not you're looking at fresh data or there are cases when we have processed a file, but that school, as we get towards the end of the school year, you could imagine things slow down quite a bit. So you could be getting, at the state, we're receiving new data, but perhaps your school doesn't have any new submissions or completions in that week. So yeah, as Ajit mentioned, it is weekly, and generally on the EdSite side of things, it'll be Tuesdays.
Any other questions? Okay, fantastic. Well, as we said, we will share this on the SDE website, and if any questions come up after this, feel free to email us. It looks like, do we have one more question come in?
Nope, that was just me putting oh, actually there is. If a student receives the email stating they have completed the FAFSA, yet the data shows the student did not, what steps should we take?
Yeah, I can handle that one. So generally, I run a matching algorithm, essentially, where I'm looking at the student's name, date of birth, I'm looking at their school, but we are kind of limited in that regard. So, you know, we don't want to have false positives, meaning that we say that this is a FAFSA completion, but we're actually matching with the wrong student. So what we've done is I've kind of tweaked that algorithm to maximize the number of true positives and minimize the number of false positives, so that we're getting the right students. As a result, we have to at least have a partial match on first name, last name, date of birth. So as a result, students who enter the wrong date of birth in their FAFSA application, or if they have the wrong date of birth with their PSIS record in the Public Student Information System, if there's any mismatch on that end, I do even allow for a swap of the month and the day to allow for a data entry error in that regard. But if we're seeing a totally wrong date of birth, a non-match, not even close, if we're seeing that the student has changed their name, perhaps, they're now using a different name on their FAFSA, but they haven't put that into PSIS, we'll want to update their district record, and oftentimes that fixes that problem. But just in answer to your question, if you're seeing that the student is reporting one thing and the report is showing different information, just shoot me an email and then I can look into it. And usually, as I mentioned, the first thing I would ask you to do is just check their name, and it seems pretty basic, but oftentimes that's what it is, a changing in the spelling or a misentered date of birth.
Thanks, Dave. So seeing no other questions, I'll wish everyone a great rest of your day, and we hope to see many of your schools be able to submit applications by October 18th. So thanks again, everybody.